you're a SAS administrator? I have one, actually. Okay, what about show of hands if you work with a SAS administrator or have a SAS administrator at your site? There's a few coming up? Okay. Well, what I wanted to talk about here is more for the SAS administrator, but also for those people that don't have a SAS administrator and some things that you need to possibly be aware of in terms of managing a SAS environment. The roles and responsibilities of a SAS administrator is many and varied. There's installation, configuration, maintenance, and also supporting the business requirements. And what I wanted to do today was to share those 5 time-saving tips to lighten the load for a more harmonious SAS platform. So what I have is the Quintet. These are the tips. Don't get lost. Tune your search. Secure your sensitive data sources. I'm sure there's a lot of sensitive data sources in your environments, particularly if you're sharing your data sources with other departments in an enterprise level. And don't assume, check those effective permissions. And the final one is to join the band, which is a bit on the communication and communities that Bonnie was talking about. So the first one is really to encourage you to look out for and take advantage of the properties button, widely available in the SAS Management Console dialogues. This way you won't have to switch, remember your location, switch plugins and manually retrace your steps. You can use that properties button and just hit the cancel button to return where you were without getting lost. In the screenshots here, what I've got is an access control, which is a template, an access control template, and I've highlighted the SAS administrators group. By clicking the properties button, I can actually look at the members of that group and then go in and see who the groups and roles are, rather than having to go back out to the main plugin. So it just saves that time for a SAS admin. The second tip is to tune your search. Now this tip is useful for those that have hundreds or thousands of SAS of users registered in metadata. And the view within the user manager is to browse rather than search. So what you can do is you can change the options in the properties. So rather than to view, you can then search, and this becomes your default view, which allows you then to quickly search for users that you want to change or to make investigate. While also looking at tuning your search, if you've got a lot of access control templates, you'll know how time-consuming it can be to find them in an unsorted list in the SAS Management Console. So using the SAS Environment Manager, which is available in SAS 9.4, you can then search for them quite easily and apply them. The next tip is about securing your sensitive data sources. And just a show of hands if you do have sensitive data in your environments. Yeah, so you probably have certain libraries that you've locked down at the operating system level. There's also a way of doing this within the metadata. And if you want to enforce that using metadata permissions, one way is to convert those libraries to be metadata-bound libraries, and this has been available since SAS 9.3 Maintenance 2. What this does, it allows unauthorised SAS programmers won't be able to work around them by coding non-metadata libname statements. You'll actually get error messages in the log and you won't be able to access them. Behind the scenes, it's using SAS Secure, which is now available in base SAS. So in 9.4, there is this point-and-click way of defining them, and once you've defined them, you can look at the log, and there is a prop auth lib code that's generated. For those that are using SAS 9.3, there is no point-and-click interface, but you can just use the prop auth lib code, and there is some links that I'm providing if you wanted to look at this in more detail of where you can find that in the documentation. The next tip that I wanted to look at is not to assume, to check the effective permissions. When troubleshooting metadata security issues, we often find that people assume that they know someone's effective permission, the end result of the access controls being applied, and sometimes set unnecessary explicit permissions. And this might be for someone that's new at administration and just goes in and clicks until no one has access or tries other things. So rather than assuming, what you might want to do is to find someone's access to a single, is to look at the authorisations, within the authorisation tab, to look at the Explore authorisation. So over here we've got a shared data folder, and we're selecting the public group, and you can see there's a deny of permissions for that particular group. By clicking on the Advanced button and searching for a particular user, Bob in this case, we can actually see through the group membership and so on that he actually has a grant of read metadata. So he's able to access that. So don't look at it at face value. What I'm saying is that to look at the effective permission, you need to find the particular user that you're interested in and see what the end result is, because users are members of multiple groups. So this would save you time in trying to diagnose that. Now, if you wanted to see everyone's effective permission, because what we're looking at here was the shared data folder for a particular user, Bob, if you want to look at everyone's permission in your environment for a single object, you may want to consider looking at Metacoda security plugins, our Object Permissions Explorer. What this does, it provides an overview for that shared data folder I was talking about, but for all users and groups in your environment. So in one glance, you can then see from who has full administrator access to no access. And this can be very useful for auditing purposes. We have a number of bank customers around the world that use this as a check to auditors and to verify that the security implementation is as expected. If you wanted to flip that around to look at, for this particular user, what do they have access to over a large collection of objects, so the whole folder tree, or maybe certain reports or stored processes and libraries, then we have the Identity Permissions Explorer. And if you want to have a look at that, come and speak to me afterwards. Finally, I was talking about joining the band, and this in particular is the SaaS administration and deployment community that's available at communities.sas.com. And this allows users in the community to share knowledge, tips with your peers, discover SaaS admin related videos, webinars and other resources. Just a show of hands if you use communities.sas.com. A few of you? Yeah, so there's other communities, Visual Analytics, Enterprise Guide, programming ones. So the ones that you're interested in, you can actually subscribe to and get emails of new posts, and you can reply to them or just monitor them. There's also another way of communicating with SaaS users, and that's via Twitter. And so as Rowan was talking about this morning, in terms of tweeting the SUNZ hashtag, there is a #SaaSadmin hashtag, and I know Barry uses it. And so there's a lot of posts, people post information about that. So Andrea, in Italy, SaaS Italy, he posts a lot of things there. So if you wanted to follow on Twitter, SaaS users is another useful hashtag to follow as well, and the SaaS ANZ for the community in Australia and New Zealand. So back to looking at communities, one thing that you might want to consider is a checklist of SaaS platform administration tasks that David Stern, he is he works for SaaS Global Enablement Team in Marlow. And what he's done is put together this checklist as a collection of information from experienced consultants in SaaS UK, EMEA and North America. And it has two checklists. The first checklist is to outline the tasks that you may consider performing when you first deploy your SaaS software. So it's very useful if you're doing a first-time installation, or what are the tasks that need to be done. So as a manager for a team, or if you're working with someone new, then maybe this might guide them. The other one is the detailed tasks that you might want to put through if you're going to be doing regular administration and activities to make sure your environment's running as expected. So these checklists and other types of useful documentation, once again, is in that community. The Metacoda koalas, if you haven't got one yet, make sure you grab one later. They also like spreading the word about the communities. And at SaaS Global Forum, we talked to Shelley Sessons. She's the the community manager for the SAS administration group. So there are community managers for visual analytics, that's Anna Brown, and Chris Hemmerdinger, he runs the whole communities.sas.com. There's also Beverly Brown, and she runs the Analytics U side of things. Okay. Right, so that was my tips to help you, for those that are SAS administrators or work with SAS administrators, in terms of not getting lost, navigating with those property buttons, and just look out for them too if you're in Enterprise Guide, the properties buttons, tuning your search, using metadata-bound libraries, checking the effect of applying access controls, and being able to search, lurk, maybe, and ask questions within the SAS administration and deployment community, or the community of your interest. I hope these time-saving tips have helped yourself or your SAS admin, and seeing that it's all about time saving, in the words of Benjamin Franklin, time lost is never found again. So keep that in mind with the tasks that you do in the work that you're focused in. And if you have any SAS admin tips to add, feel free to share them, or if you wanted to talk to me later, please do so. Thank you.